Oh, so you couldn't hear me. Okay, let's get this ShineCast underway then, everybody. Here we go with today's ShineCast, Friday the 12th of March, 2021. I thank you. The 12th of March, 2021. And
You had
I
your
tell you,
mic on mute.
excuse me?
I just unmuted you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much. These things happen, which is why, that's why we're all here. Let's do this again. We're here. No, it's not deja vu. This is kind of the first one. Well, take two. Thanks to my friend Jimmy, who we're about to meet. I'm Martin Shine. This is ShineCast. It is Friday, the 12th of March, 2021. It's been a busy week, so much so that I did forget to unmute myself just a moment ago. But hopefully things will change now. They can't get any worse. Jimmy, they could do. Let's get rid of that in the middle there, squeezing us, sandwiching in the middle of us. How you doing? How are you doing today, Mr. Jimmy Heaven in Japan?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Regardless
Good
of what I
stuff.
told you a few minutes ago, I'm doing great.
Yes. I don't know how much of that you want to share with everyone else. After all, other
I'll
people
do it
seem to have
later.
shared.
We got a lot of
Yeah,
other things to talk about today.
we have,
Or
absolutely.
do we?
Yeah, I've got plenty to talk about. In fact, one of the things judging, even if I say so myself, by the beginning of this broadcast, people wouldn't even be able to guess the procedure that I had to be subjected to on
Yeah,
Tuesday this
they
week.
had to listen to you twice. A Tuesday.
Tuesday.
You're talking about that bullshit.
No, well, wasn't it a good day for you?
No, it was a great day for me.
I'll take straight to that topic, actually. I have one of the best orthodontists on the planet. Awesome place that I've attended over the years. I've been there for a good handful of decades, and I had to have my first ever extraction. It was the tooth just before next to the wisdom tooth. That's the first of two, possibly three extractions that I have to have soon.
And you know, your country is well known for their bad teeth.
Well, I guess I've done pretty well. My teeth, very simply, for those that aren't aware, you have this procedure that you can go under called
Let's see your teeth.
root
Show me your
canal
teeth
work.
first. Show me
No,
your
I
teeth
can't
first.
do that.
Come on, let me just see it. No, okay, there you got some straight teeth. They're nice. You got some straight,
They're
nice
pretty
teeth.
straight. They're pretty straight, yeah. But anyway, you can have this procedure. People have heard about it before. Root canal work. It's where the dentist they remove the nerve from your tooth for one reason or another. And I had that procedure a good handful of years ago, maybe about 5-6 years ago. But subsequent to that, the actual tooth in question that was extracted this week, that had decayed. But because there was no nerve there wasn't as much pain as there might otherwise be. And the only thing that was really there as a problem was the decay, because obviously while it's not hurting you, obviously what happens is the decay can then sort of interfere with your gum, cause disease and pain and swelling, which started to happen at the beginning of this year. I used the old salt water to get rid of that initial problem, but at the same time I was sensible and I immediately contacted the dentist. And yes, I know it's March now, but that's how long I've been back there, about 3 times, because I also needed some fillings. But each time I've gone there, I've said, well, you know what, today we'll leave the extraction. But I even said that on Tuesday, and he's like, well, we're prepared for that today. So I said, okay, let's just do it. Get it out of the way.
You were scared of it. The
Oh,
faster
of
you get it, the
course.
better. Was it so? What kind of fillings are you getting? I'm just wondering.
What do
Are
you
you,
mean by that question?
What are they filling it with? What is it, like, with a ceramic cover? What do they fill?
Yeah,
What do they
well,
fill it with?
the thing is, of course, these days you have the choice on your back teeth. You have the choice of whether they have the mercury fillings, the traditional
No
ones,
way.
or
They're
they
still
still
doing mercury
yeah,
fillings?
yeah, they still use
That's
those
insane. That's
on,
don't they
on,
don't they
on
it's known to cause problems. What are you talking
well,
about?
there was a documentary. Do you know there was a documentary something like as long ago as must have been 22 years ago, let's say, and they were actually saying, like, come on, one of the most poisonous substances on the planet,
In
mercury,
mercury.
and we're sticking it in our mouths, right? And they were
And you're still
suggesting
doing it?
at that time, they were suggesting that it could have something to do with these dementia illnesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it probably does. Go with
yeah.
like
This
silver or
I had
gold
white
or
like a
porcelain or something.
yeah, I didn't have that though. But again, certainly because it's back teeth and it doesn't show so much, you see. So they give you the choice, or they certainly did the last time I had these done. And on the front, well, they tend to try and make sure it's white to match the teeth. You
Okay,
know,
so what did you get? What did you get?
I got the white. I got the white filling there at the back there.
Okay, great. Otherwise, well,
Yeah.
I can't
Sorry.
believe. I think they should make it illegal. It should be illegal to be putting mercury in your mouth at this
Well,
day and age.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, you'd end up. I don't know. See, I wouldn't. Well, as I say, I do have my doubts about using that practice all those years, but then they had never had what else did they have to stick in your mouth because you couldn't put anything else
Gold,
there, otherwise it would
gold,
rust. Yeah, well,
gold,
obviously gold, yeah, but gold, silver, yeah, then we're
silver.
talking, yeah, I know, well,
Shit, even
too expensive,
aluminum
obviously.
probably, man, for Christ's sake. Well, aluminum's probably not that good either.
You're better off just having the tooth pulled out, right? I know what you're saying,
Well,
but anyway,
copper. And you can pick up some like radio. You can pick up some radio on the way, which people do. People have picked up radio from that, or like plates in the head and stuff like that. Yeah,
just fill your teeth with candy, chocolate, job done. Yeah, I don't know, make it sit
that's
in
your
there.
problem, Martin. That's why you got a root canal.
Exactly.
That's why
I
you
tell you,
got a root canal.
considering the amount of sweet stuff I've eaten over the years, well, I think I've done pretty well in caring for the teeth. I could have done better because, sure, but ultimately, I got to tell you, when this extraction took place, obviously I had an injection, then he gave me another one. But it's the first time I've been to the dentist. Usually you're laying down, right, horizontally, and they're looking down on you, as he was at the beginning of this procedure. But then the chair was elevated up to sit in a position for pretty much, around about 50 degrees or whatever, and before you know it, he was almost like with the pliers pulling at me, and it didn't take long at all. And I said to him, "Is it finished?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, it's out." And I was almost, I was in shock in as much as I said to him at the end, if I could, if it wasn't, obviously it was very sore because I had the
Sure.
anaesthetic. So therefore, once it wore off, I realised just how much work had been carried out on my tooth
How
and how
much
much
pain?
I stopped.
It's a big
Right,
pull.
but it wasn't. Do you know what? But I said to him there and then, I said, you know what? If we could, I'd have the other two done right now just to get it over with. I would have had it done ages ago.
All
Brilliant
gums.
dentist, as I say.
Make me all gums. Make me all gums. I don't have to brush my
Well,
teeth anymore.
I don't know about that. But anyhow, so yeah, I've got certainly one more to go, probably two, and that will be the next
You know,
time I visit will be the end of the month.
they're on the lower jaw? Are they all
No,
on the lower?
upper. And you know what?
You
Of
know, the
course,
upper
once
ones are more painful. There's a closer connection to your brain.
what I've got to tell you, I'm so I'm confused as to just how much pain I'm not in. When I left there, of course, the first thing they do, they give you this swab, of cotton,
But the
and
lower jaw is a lot
yeah,
less
and,
pain.
and you bite on it. And obviously, as you say, because it was a top tooth, if there's going to be any bleeding, it could be worse to stop because obviously it's one of the top teeth, so the flow of blood coming down. But they said, just keep that swab in place for 2 to 3 hours, and then after that, you can remove it and just be gentle, just a little movement there because they wanted the blood obviously to congeal. Anyway, I don't want to get too into all that, but obviously I was just so surprised. In fact, in the evening, I to eat. I was thinking I'm going to have soup or something, not much more than that. But I ended up having a Thai curry. I'd only had that for the first time a handful of months ago, and
Wow.
it's about the third one
Taking
I've
so
had
long.
since. But I've got to tell you, and I said to myself, I'll probably be just sort of picking out the juice and maybe a bit of rice, maybe keeping it over to the other
All
side of my
good.
mouth. Excuse me?
I love turkey. Yeah, but rice. You have a problem with the rice getting into the
But I
hole.
was very careful. It's so slow, and it was one of the most enjoyable meals I've ever had. And I even ate all the chicken because it was like butter, and it was mad. I was like, I couldn't believe that I just had a tooth pulled out hours before. Anyhow, it's doing really well at the moment. Just keeping it. Well, I can feel it now. As it is a little bit sore still and tender. But in about another, say, 3 or 4 days, I will be able to start using that side of the mouth again a bit more. In fact, yesterday. I started just eating normally, and I had to remind myself, well, hold on a minute. I didn't feel a thing, but obviously I could disturb it still. And eventually the gum will grow over where the tooth used to be, and job done. But there you are. That's my experience. So I'm saying, certainly with my orthodontist, dentist, I didn't need to have any doubts at all. Not that I ever did with it, but it's just the thought, because remember, once you're sitting there, you know what it is. You're sitting there, even with the anaesthetic, because we're so used to you're sitting there with your hands down, either on your lap or on the side of the chair, and you're just waiting for that moment. The more they're drilling or doing work, and it's not hurting you, and the longer they're doing it and it's not hurting you, you're feeling like you're that little bit closer to the moment where they are going to hurt you, and you're just any moment ready to scream out, but didn't have to. And yeah, brilliant stuff. There you go. So get over to London next time you got your teeth done. I can highly recommend my dentist. Drop me an email, martin@martinshine.com. No worries. It's a little bit expensive, but well worth it.
Not after, yeah. Well, I guess
Probably,
British people are they're taking more care of their teeth. The same thing was in Japan. Like in America, they started taking care of their teeth a lot earlier. It was very popular. Like you see kids, like a lot of kids, getting braces, at a young age, which you didn't see in other countries. Now you're starting to see it, but.
I'll tell you something. First of all, one thing that's very popular now, because the actual extraction, I had two things done. I say filling, extraction, but the extraction itself costs around about $130. Okay, and as I say, the thing was, I should have had this done about, frighteningly, it was like 3 years ago. Okay. And I didn't. And I remember even when I traveled to the US about 2 years ago, I was saying to myself, oh my goodness, I hope this tooth doesn't start causing me a problem while I'm out there for like 90 days.
You're talking about, this is after the root canal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have risked it. Probably would have thought twice about it.
I think they don't tell you a lot. They don't tell you a lot about this, but if you have like a small cavity, your teeth has the probability of like fixing it itself.
Right. Yeah.
It does fix itself. I've had times where I had pain, like, oh, this feels like a cavity, and it actually fixes itself.
Yeah.
So,
but I think they cut. That's I would suggest that's a rare occurrence. So the point is,
it's a minor. If it's a minor,
yeah.
if it's minor, if it becomes
too
large,
by the time you've got some serious pain there, I think it's kind of time for a filling, and it's not going to naturally heal itself. I would suggest. Can I just say that we're almost forgetting the comments there? Hello to you, Rose. Hello to Brenda, and hello to Jimmy Heaven, who's apparently what's this? Oh, goodness me! I just saw a comment from you, Jimmy. I'm not going to repeat it. If people want to go onto the Haps.tv app.
It's in response to something Brenda said a few comments back. So
well, we haven't even mentioned the comments yet, and people watching, thank you so much. Do share, like, and follow whatever platform you're watching on. But the best place at the moment is Haps.tv and the ShineCast channel, if not my own channel or Jimmy's channel, or there's someone else I'm about to bring into the equation right now, because it'd be interesting to know how things are going over there in the USA right now. It's our good friend, new to ShineCast. Well, he's been here before, but he's
last week.
He's in the time zone, which is Eastern Standard Time Zone, and that is the wonderful Eric Hypes. Eric, welcome to ShineCast.
Much love, both of y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
Namaste.
Yeah, it doesn't work quite as well when Martin says it.
Hello, peace, welcome. But in all sincerity, we've got so much to talk about today, Jimmy, because Eric and I have been talking very, 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 very recently and connecting. We spoke on a previous ShineCast for the first time, as you'll be aware, Jimmy, and then we've spoken subsequently, and literally 24 hours ago, if that. And wow, there's so much to talk about on a more on a totally different level, quite frankly. Yeah, on, when it comes to our existence on planet Earth.
Oh, you're talking about a different plane, like maybe.
Yeah, spirituality and all the what's going on, the conflicts between that plane and our mortal existence, and just understanding what this is all about, really.
There is no understanding.
Well, I don't know so much. There's certainly some, we need to have some sort of pause for thought and discussion. There's plenty of discussion to be had, and some quirky things that actually they start marrying up and adding up when you start actually realizing that, say, certain coincidences aren't necessarily just a coincidence. So, yeah, absolutely.
So what do we have got a lot of subjects to talk about today. Should I just shout something out and we start?
Well, so we've had teeth, yeah, and we know that plenty of things are like pulling teeth, so enough about that subject, yeah, right, okay, yeah. Did you want to talk cryptocurrency, or you want to skip over that?
Let's we can do that later. Well, actually, you recently, because I buy so much, I'm buying so many like coins, and I have to say that a very familiar face to me is Queen Elizabeth II. So must I say, God save the Queen.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, also her backside is familiar to many people when they have to lick a stamp here and post a letter. In the old days, you had to lick it, to make sure the thing's stuck on the envelope. These days, they are self-adhesive.
Okay, and well, before we get onto the Queen, I want to show you a new coin that I got. Well, it's not a new coin. It's a very old coin, 1932 coin. It's a Polish coin.
Okay. I'll just say hello to Rick, who's joining us. Thank you for joining, Rick. Do share,
hey,
follow,
Rick.
please.
Hey, Rick.
Hello there, USA, which is where Eric is at the moment, who's our guest today, our first guest. We might have more. If you want to join, let us know, by the way, in the comments. And if you're on haps.tv, you can download the app as well, iOS or Android. If you're commenting there, you can also join in with the chat on camera or just on mic. Just throw
Hey, brother Rick. Hey, brother Space and Jason.
Oh, and hello to Springfield as well. There's a few Springfields in the USA. So this one is, let me just see specifically. Did I say? Yeah, I don't know where. Which part of the US is? Which is this Springfield? East side, west side?
Illinois.
Central Standard. Illinois. Oh, awesome. Up near Michigan, or is it Michigan? I know someone likes it when I say Michigan. Sorry, Jimmy. Could you hold that? I'm just keep holding it there, Jimmy. Come on. We want to see how long you can hold the coin.
Okay, now it's a beautiful coin. It's 1932, 10 what's it called? Zloty. And then Zloty, and then here
Zloty,
is here you go. Look at that. This is a beautiful coin from 1930. It's usually the coins are like 90% silver. This is 80% silver, and this is a Queen Jadwiga.
Right. Isn't it ironic you're collecting coins? I mean, most people will be collecting bills, like $100 bills in the US, for example. You know what I'm saying? So,
but these are was it much? These are much. They're worth more.
Obviously, yes. I'm
they're
learning this fast.
So what was it? What did he say? Who is it? Rick's collecting some old Morgan silver. You mean like one of these?
Wow.
Morgan silver.
Hey, Rick, I got a question. Actually, I'm just going to throw it out there because
1891. Just to let you know, 1891. Morgan.
Sure. I just keen to know if you're interested in coins, there, Rick. If we were to show you some locations here in the UK, some that were dealing with this sort of thing, would you be interested in watching and seeing what's available direct from the UK? While you're answering that, the reason I ask is because it was a good handful of years ago. I came across a shop. And when Periscope was new, which is, I say it's ironic now because it's about to reach its demise in about, 14 days time, just over. But I did a broadcast from the store, and so many people were interested in these coins and this sort of, the vintage items that were in the store, and the owner of the store was very reluctant to trade online. And I was like, come on, you've got an audience here, and people, particularly there was one person on the west coast of the USA, and they were really keen on one item, and I think it was a coin, and I think they would have definitely wanted to. They don't
understand. They don't understand. These people, they're just not caught up with the technology. If you're opening a store today or any kind of like business, you cannot just think locally, like you're down your street in your town. The minute you open something or you're open for business, you're global. You have to have that mentality now, or you just will not survive. Exactly. You won't survive. Absolutely. Because you know what? Somebody else, the chances are that you might have something from your part of the world. There's like a huge chance of somebody, across the globe which doesn't have that kind of access might want it. So it'd be a shame if you didn't.
My stance is, and my immediate thinking is that, look, if you've got something here in the UK, all right, that has certainly a Union flag on it, the Union Jack, everyone's loving that all the time, including myself. Well, you'd rather purchase that item if it originates from here rather than something that's just been replicated last week in China, even though it might be a few dollars, a handful of dollars cheaper and more affordable.
A lot cheaper, you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it depends what it is, but yeah, it's not all going to, and certain items, jewelry, if people are creating over here, artwork, it can all be, well, actually, I was just, again, speaking to Eric about this earlier, you much more
previously, Jimmy, some Wedgwood.
There's a town where we're going to be bringing some video work between now and the summer, hopefully sooner rather than later. And it's very much connected historically with Charles Dickens. And I think people are going to love getting to learn more about the town. It's a coastal resort here in England, in the county of Kent, which is known as the Garden of England. And it's a great place, as I say. And I think people are just going to love what we're going to be showing them and connecting them with local people and all the offerings down there. I'll leave it at that for now. Otherwise, I'll definitely go off on a huge tangent. But internet okay when it works. Always have a second plan, says Chris in Brixham. Oh, yeah. Hello, Chris. Welcome to ShineCast and the show. Maybe we'll have a little chat soon, but lovely to see you there. But yeah, always have a second plan. Absolutely. Backup plan. Always needed. Yeah. Record and play it later, upload it and play it later if it's a live video, if that's ever going to be your problem with the internet failing. Jimmy, what you up to there?
Nothing. I'm waiting for you. Like, what are we doing? What's the deal?
Well, I'd actually like to know a bit more, and I'm sure you would, with regards to what Eric's involved with right now. We spoke, him and I, about this yesterday briefly. He's on a journey, as we all are. And listen, rather than me speaking for him, I'd like you to tell us, please, Eric. You explained to me that this journey, there was a bit of a pause in it, and you're kind of picking up from where you left off at the moment. If you could explain, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah. Briefly, I was born, like I said yesterday, kind of in this awakeness. I signed up with fear because of my perceptions and spirits talking to me and things like that. And I became very ill with diagnoses of untreatable diseases, and I've had accidents and things like that. And I got to my lowest point at 39 years old. I started meditation. Spirit, what I call it, source, God, higher self, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's with love, it'll work for you. Started speaking to me and telling me that I could heal from all these things and have a productive life. In fact, I had a destiny, and everything that happened to me was for a reason.
Right.
And that if I can flip the script and follow this path, then there'll be a lot of good stuff that will kind of make everything look worthwhile. And at this point, I've met a lot of people, which I call my soul family. Some of them are here in the chat, who I've seen in my dreams 15, 20, 5, 6 years ago. And then when I meet them on Facebook or Twitch or on Haps now, since I've been on Haps, it seems like every day I'm meeting someone that I've met in my dreams. Hello, Helga. And it's kind of like signposts or guiding posts to, one, help quell my anxiety about stepping out and speaking about how I've perceived the world and the changes that are coming for everyone that's open, with a open heart and open mind, that we can be more connected moving forward. And so just yesterday, well, back up a little bit, I'm still working on some of my healing. Last year in 2020, it got crystal clear for a lot of people. 2019, Spirit had told me, Eric, you'll be able to go outside and do some hiking, which before that, I was not able to go outside and stand longer than 15 minutes without suffering for weeks afterwards. And last year, lo and behold, I was able to go on a 2-mile hike back up this ridge behind my home. and started being able to get back to what people call a more normal life, which a lot of people are wanting now with the COVIDs. And then HAPS came along, and it's just been like a wave after wave after wave of me being introduced to people, me getting things through spirit, guiding me step by step, literally step by step. And I do my best not to think anymore. But sometimes, it comes up, like with me and you, Martin, yesterday. You guided me to your other Facebook page. I was the 33rd person to follow. And I was like, this isn't enough. I need to know that I'm not moving too fast or moving too slow, or I'm in the right place. And then when I talked with y'all more, you and your significant other, I was then allowed to know that I've had dreams concerning both of you. So
it's almost freaky when you say that and remind me.
Yeah, it just really helps me to ground in that moment and let me know I'm moving at the right pace. Because like Spirit had told me, like I told you in May, I'm supposed to start doing live broadcasts on my channel 3 times that month, doing live mediumship. And
yes,
I've not ever done that before. I've done it in the security of my own home with people that I know, and people that I've worked with. And a lot of these people, they come into my field of perception and they're like, well, Eric, this is you do these kind of things, you're the woo-woo man or whatever, and you're the mystic. And I'm like, well, if you're coming to me and you appreciate what I've done for you so far, just hear me, because Spirit's telling me these are the things that you're going to do. And so I'll tell them, like, you're going to have visions. And they call me back 2 weeks later and they're like, Eric, I'm having visions. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good. That's
you told them, right? Yeah, you told them to expect it. Exactly. Now, just wondering, you're telling us about this on the May the 5th, the 14th and the 23rd, right? That you're going to be broadcasting some interesting, but more specifically, more poignant broadcasts for a good reason. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a coming out for me in a way. I mean, I've been on here. There's some other spiritual people that I've ran into, Michael Bathurst and others, who can kind of read me. And everybody's got questions. And,
Michael's into this sort of thing, is he? Because he's connected and a bit educated on it, shall we say, and enlightened more than the average person.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to note, because that's interesting because, as I say, he's only connected me briefly in here. We've yet to talk, Michael Bathurst and myself. We'll have a great chat, I know, when we do. But, doesn't surprise me from what he's been saying in the chat from time to time as well. So there you go. Maybe his ears are burning right now and he'll join us possibly. Let's invite him as well, as we can do anyone that's joining us on the chat on haps.tv. Just a reminder, you can join in the chat now if you just let us know. When I say, I mean join in the conversation here audibly, visually, if you so wish to do so. Hello to Hamilton. I always forget. Hamilton's in the northeast of the USA, isn't it? I forget what state it's in. Is it Massachusetts by any chance? And that's kind of region? Am I right there? Eric, are you aware of Hamilton? There's probably more than one, but I seem to recall.
Ontario, Canada. Ontario, Canada.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Silly me. Yeah. Apologies, Canada. Or is that Canada, as someone told me once? It's always Canada, sort of like with a dip in the voice, apparently. But yes, it's John.
Hey.
Excuse me, Jimmy. Hey, what?
They do.
What?
They always say, hey.
Is that right? I didn't know they were known for that.
It's true. It's not exaggeration, eh? It isn't. Ask John, eh?
Oh, John, he'll give us a few aids along the way there now. Yeah, we've also got Amsterdam here, as we saw earlier on. Helga's joining us from Europe, mainland. Hasten to add, because of this Brexit thing. Did I mention that? It hasn't been said for quite a while. Certainly in the main media, it's all died down now.
Brexit, it's died down because you got this COVID going on.
Well, all I was mentioning is that while geographically we are still a part of Europe, the continent, we are.
And Canada is under the Queen.
Somewhat.
Huh?
Right. Yeah. No, we mustn't
Under
forget that.
the
Absolutely.
queen.
And now now if you want to go that way with the royal family, what a week it's been for the royal family and the Queen of Chat in the USA.
Well,
Apparently, allegedly, Oprah Winfrey.
if we're going there, first let me was it share? Let me share. Was it the picture of today? That what we're talking about here.
Hey, welcome, Elliot, man. You made it. Lovely. Wisconsin, Germantown. Thanks for joining. Do share, like, and follow everyone. Please do. And you're also a spiritual soul. So is Dee Dee, your four-legged friend. Yes. Just for those that aren't aware. Yeah. So if you'd like to join the chat anytime, people, please do. Just let us know, certainly. But what are you going to share with us there, Jimmy?
Now, let's do the full screen here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Was that Desiree telling us what she just said on the screen there? That's a lovely comment. What we got there, Jimmy? Life's so hard, I can relate. Mm-hmm. Yes. I get your point there, Jimmy.
Yeah, you see the gold and the dollars and the pounds?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
they really have nothing to complain about. However,
nothing.
Certainly I would say there's a couple of the allegations that were made that I would suggest are potentially very alarming when it comes to race and
it's such bull. It's such bull
health.
that it's always the bringing the race.
Mental health.
Pathetic. And being part of that household, you know that she had probably everything available to her. Anything she needed available to her.
But she was mentioning that she felt trapped, and obviously mental health was.
Come on, what do you think? You're getting married into the royal family, you stupid person. Well, how stupid can you be? You're getting married to a prince, to like the biggest monarchy in the world. Oh, you're not going to feel trapped? I mean, how stupid you have to be? Come on.
Thank you very much, Chris. As Chris has just reminded us as well, one of the very well-known, he's well-known in the USA as well, journalists and presenters, Piers Morgan, because he went over to the US for quite a while.
I'm not the biggest fan. I was never a biggest fan of Piers Morgan when he was on CNN, but after he left CNN, he's starting to become he's starting to become okay. I hated him on CNN.
He's just been fired from breakfast television here in the UK.
Why? For speaking his mind, because freedom of speech is gone. You can't speak your mind. I haven't even watched the whole interview. I've seen snippets. Yeah. But so I've read what it says, but it's like, I get the basic gist of it. It's ridiculous. It's an America sensationalizing, just whatever, man. Now she can start her Hollywood career. Is that what it is? I mean, what? I mean, I hope they're in love. I hope they're happy, and blah blah blah. They're in sunny Los Angeles or in California. That's great, but yeah, that's and I'm not even a big fan of the monarchy. And was it a kings and queens? But I know that as far as Britain, they probably love the queen. I lived in a kingdom. I lived in Denmark, so I know how much the people love their queen or their king. So how about you? God save the queen.
Listen, yes, I think I never used to be a fan of the royal family. I'm still not over impressed, but I think that the thing is they just live in a completely different world, almost a parallel universe. That they don't know what it's like to live a day as a regular mortal, in our society. They really don't have any complaints, and I mean, they don't need to get out of bed. It must be pretty boring in some respects. I always say that if someone wins the lotto or the lottery, when you do that,
get the royal jet. I'm so bored.
They have to make their agenda happen, don't they? That's the point. I mean, I say that a lot of us have to. I mean, right now I'm doing something. I say similar to that. I've got some ambitions and some dreams that I want to make reality, for want of a better word, dreams. And a purpose, I feel. And this is part of it right now, for heaven's sake. It's not a coincidence that we're live streaming. Live video and video production is very much what I do. And people apparently tell me I do it well. But you have to keep following us here to
maybe one of those people you can invite one of those people as a guest one day.
Well, they're appearing here now, and in general, anyway, I've invited.
Okay, I see.
Anyway, yeah, there you go. Someone reckons that Meghan will play herself in The
Yes,
Crown.
exactly.
Right, yes.
They wrote
That's
the script
hilarious.
beforehand. They wrote the script beforehand. It's probably written already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think on this, Eric? How do you see the royal family?
That's a big topic. I think they're one of the controlling hands in the world that we live in today.
Absolutely, you're right. Absolutely, and for a long time. I mean, as I mentioned before, the Queen's face is on money from like all over the world. They say, oh no, it's not part. It's separated from England. But no, if the Queen is on your money, she has some control in your country. At least she has a control of your parliament, or a little bit of control. She has say. If she doesn't like something, she can step in.
Yeah, and you couple that with the Vatican, and you couple that with United States. We have the District of Columbia, which is where our DC is, and so why do you have all these separate things? They're their own countries within countries.
Exactly.
There's
Absolutely
a lot of
right.
control that goes on, and the average person doesn't have the time because the way the world's working today. I think back in the 1940s and 50s, they said, with innovation and machines and computers, the work week, the 40-hour work week will, slide back and you'll have more time with your family. But back then, it was basically the man providing the family the home and the income, and the wife was home with the kids. And now everybody's working and they still can't pay all the bills. And
Well,
you're
they
working.
want that.
Exactly.
They're trying to break the family structure. You have to rely on the government. We are the ones we're going to be the hand that feeds you. So you don't trust your family. That's I'm sorry to say, a left wing communist kind of deal, but that's kind of what the whole they want to usher that in, is this leftist government control. The family structure's gone. The man is not a man. The woman's not a woman. I mean, like, you don't have control of your kids. We're living in a world where kids call on their parents now because they're told to. It's horrible.
Yeah, Martin and I were talking about it earlier this morning, and he brought up there's always a third way, and the triangle is the most fundamental structure that there is in our world today. Yeah, and it's interesting because each one of us has a masculine and a feminine and a masculine side. And so the feminine is the void, it's the receiver of information that comes from the ethers. And the masculine is the action. And when you have any 2 points that are down on the ground and they seem to be in opposition of one another, they can be divided and conquered very easily. But if you have a third position, and that third position has a higher point looking down, you can see the playing field much clearer, and you can see manipulation, and you can see the chessboard being moved. And so I feel like it really is that all of our systems are set up to keep us divided, the left and the right, the black and the white, the this and the that.
The third option surely is also, if you can take a step back from those two positions and try to look at a situation from more of an outside perspective,
but it's very hard to opt out. It's very hard to opt out if you live in this world, in this physical world. The spiritual part, that is where you have strength. That is where the most strength you have is the spiritual world, because they do try to control the physical world. And it's very hard to opt out, whether it be passports, passes, now with the vaccines, it's all about controlling you. And you really have no choice but to opt in, kind of. Now, if they're talking about like a vaccine passport, I mean, they've had our vaccine passport for certain. If you want to go to certain countries, you get a certain vaccine to because of certain sicknesses in that part of the world. But now they're going to try to limit all travel. Eventually, that's probably what they're going to do. Like you were talking, I'm going to veer off a little bit, like the chip. The recent, like the past 10 years, they've been talking about chipping people. People are like, oh, no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Well, originally they were making chips and they were explaining to people, like, we're doing this for pets. So if you lose your pet, you can find your pet. Nobody's spending But nobody's spending $1 billion on research to find a lost dog or a cat. That's just the bottom line. Even though they might be sentient beings and, I love them and all this stuff, but that's not where they're spending the money. That's just to show you, that's an example of what they can use it for. But it's actually for the human race to implant everybody and track you.
Well, the nearest they've got to me so far is putting a chip in my passport, because they do now, rather than just manually checking your passport, they do have a little microchip in the front of them, I think.
You don't know what your dentist put into your filling. He probably put a chip in there.
Do you think? We're not talking potato chips, of course, or chips as in fries. No. But you could be right. But I don't think you are.
And no, that's really where.
Moment.
Where do you want to go with this? I mean, what are they putting in the water? In all the faucets, the taps in the kitchens, in the sink, when you pour yourself a glass of water. Well, I was going to say exactly, there's been plenty of stories about that over the years as to what's been.
And it's true. The problem is they call this conspiracy theory, but it's not a theory. It's a conspiracy. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose.
And that's where the spirituality comes into it. Once everyone starts to, and like the fluoride, it
the pineal gland,
your pineal gland.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what I've discovered for myself, I can't speak for anyone else, but and all the people I'm working with, this is for everyone. I'm not special. I'm not, this is just an awareness that I was born with. I've gone through the struggle that everybody goes through with this. We all grow up reading Bibles and Qurans and other things that speak to these spiritual practices, but yet we worship these things that are outside of us. And once you start to make these connections with inside yourself, you can find that dog when it gets lost. You are the homing beacon. When you can connect with that soul, that sentient, read that energy. I've done this. I've talked to the birds. The birds have told me where to go, and I find exactly what they tell me that I'll find. And so what I'm working on currently, and why we were talking earlier with Martin, he was right now, Spirit's kind of got me in a place where I'm kind of working on like 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 things at once, and I can only put so much energy into each one at certain amounts of time. And right now, one of the greatest forefronts is my own healing, of course. And what I love the most about Spirit is it's guided me in such a way that I'm working with other people. And so I might have part of the puzzle, they might have part of the puzzle, and Spirit makes us work together to achieve this one thing. And so that's really what has to happen on the world stage is, we all have to do the work ourselves, but then we have to be able to come together and be able to be a human race and evolve. So right now, since I've had all these important dreams that have made all these things an actual undeniable force in my life, I'm going to start working with people in the dream realm where I'll meet up with them. And so let's say you're Joe Blow and I've never met you in my life, but all of a sudden you see me in your dreams and my name's Eric Hypes. And then you see me on Facebook or Haps or Twitter or wherever. And you're like, oh my God, this guy was in my dreams. Then that it's not me doing something for you at that point. It is me making a connection, but it's helping you to realize your own divineness. And then you can start to have all these synchronicities start to unfold for you. And then eventually we'll be able to come together as a humanity. We won't need governments. We won't need leaders that bow to the corporations and to the money and because all that stuff is orchestrated for our own sovereignty. If we didn't have these obstacles to face, we wouldn't value our own divinity.
But there are so many different cultures and different countries and regions around the planet doing things differently. How do you think we're going to come together in a common way to understand one another? And it's going to take quite a long time to do, isn't it? And let me just say, when you're talking about orchestration and governments and authority and those people who are trying to control us effectively, I mean, they're doing, obviously, to a degree, we do need to be penned in a bit like sheep in some ways. A certain type of person certainly does have to be guided more than others. But how do you see that sort of evolving and happening loosely?
It's interesting because, I mean, spirits told me a lot of things, and the devil's in the details, and I get the details about a lot of things. Like, I knew Trump was going to win. I knew Bernie Sanders wasn't going to make it to Philadelphia the first time or the second time. And, but Spirit's been talking to me about the collective. So, like, a lot of the things that are happening on the earth today, volcanoes, earthquakes, things like that, our collective consciousness has a very big influence on what we experience in our world. So I do see, and line up with what you're saying, it's going to take some time. Not everybody's going to wake up tomorrow and we're all going to be like, oh, I totally get what Eric's talking about. I'm experiencing it for myself. But, there's 100,000 more people out there like me or further along than me. And, it doesn't matter. The way Spirit really started talking to me in 2012 was like, let's say you're on an airplane, Eric, and you crash in a remote forest in another country. No cell phone, no GPS. What do you do? If you've got this connection, that's all you have to listen to. And so when everybody starts making that connection for themselves, we will all line up in the universal laws. You heard George Bush Sr. say back in 1991, we have a plan. We will see it into fruition. It's the New World Order, and we will erase the law of the jungle with the law of man. And that's it, the ego, the control. You will not replace nature.
No.
In fact, that's our nature. We haven't fully discovered our own. We call these things five senses: touch, see,
I think
taste.
we've lost it. I think we actually lost it to a certain extent.
You're right.
No,
you're right.
I'm thinking from the ancients. I think the ancients knew. They followed stars. They were more connected to the earth. People in the jungle know, shaman know what kind of plant is going to cure your stomach ache. We've lost all this.
Yeah. And now, we're cutting down the Amazon to what extent? For more control, to feed you pharmaceutical pills that are based on those natural substances.
Well, oil. Most of it's from oil. So, and I have nothing against
Rockefellers.
The Rockefellers. I have no problem with oil. I have no problem with the use of oil. I have no problem with the drilling of oil. I have a problem with the control that it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's greed, isn't it? That's when you say the control. Anything that is going to have control, if it's going to affect our greed in a positive way, and feed that greed.
But the thing is, it's always a negative way. Like if you consider, I'm going to bring up something like Iran. We have the West has a problem with Iran, but in fact, Iran had their first publicly held election. I think it was 1954 with Mossadegh winning, and he decided that he wanted to take the control of the oil in Iran and make it their own, make it belong to Iran. But, was it BP oil, an American? Was it I think it was a Kermit Roosevelt's, was it nephew, and England, BP oil. They said, no, we're not going to have that. So we got rid of they got rid of the first elected president and put in the Shah, put another control system because they didn't want the Iranian people to be in control of their own oil. Okay, and that's why we have a problem with Iran now. Now they're a backward, place, and not because they were backward people, because they put those people in power on purpose at the time, and it backfired.
Here's a question for you, Jimmy. Just talking about the control and the ownership of that oil. Let me I'll come back to it in just a second after I said hello to Charlotte. Or should that be Cheryl in Charlotte, as opposed to Cheryl is the place and Charlotte's the name? Well, it may be. Maybe there is a place called Cheryl, but no, it's the other way around. And hello to you, and thanks for joining us as well. Again, anyone out there watching, please do share, like, and follow. And thanks very much for the awards, the support, always appreciated here, because certainly when I'm out and about and people support me often personally on the broadcast, it helps contribute somewhat towards the old 3G, 4G, dare I say 5G data. And they're not, unfortunately, those guys that supply well that they're not up for giving it to us as a freebie. So thank you very much for the support. But Jimmy, here's one for you, right? So you're standing there in Iran, for example, and drilling down, and you find oil hundreds of meters down. Yeah, how far down do they actually own in the ground? It's a bit like building your house as well. I mean, you build your house on your plot of land that you may own.
Okay.
So how far down do you own?
Okay. I can't tell you.
Before the Australians start getting a bit of a disagreement going, you know?
Well, here, I don't know about the rest of the other countries, but I know in America there's a thing called mineral rights. So if you own the land, you can have the land, but you can also own the mineral rights on that land. So what you do is you can lease that mineral rights out to another company to drill. So if you don't have the power to drill, you don't have the energy to drill, what you do is you lease that out, contract them to come. Yeah, but in the Middle East,
how far down can they drill before Australia and New Zealand start complaining?
I'll tell you, until the people was it Middle Earth start complaining, then you can drill that far.
You think, right. It's going to get obviously a bit up down there the further we go. But just saying, because I've never actually read anywhere. I think there is a law in the UK.
When the mole people come out and they start complaining, that's when you got to stop.
Well, I actually think there is in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, I do believe laws exist telling us just how much when you buy a plot of land.
That was a joke. I hope everyone knows that was a joke about the mole people.
But there is actually a legal level that you can go down to and claim it to be your own before it is no more. I had to double check on that though. But anyway, just while on the topic, I thought that was an interesting one to throw in there.
A lot of people don't know that. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know these laws and rules.
They don't want you to know anything, which is why a lot of people are unhappy about this thing called the interwebble, the internet. Yes, absolutely.
Because they have no control of it.
Well,
they have no control of it. Yeah.
And I've heard interviews with gentlemen that have worked in these industries who talk about what, like you were saying, Jimmy, earlier, people call these conspiracy theories, but they're actually conspiracies where, we set up these, what we call third world countries, which are often better off before we come in there. We set it up, a dictator or whatever. And then we come in there and we take these corporations in there and say, well, then we own them because they don't have the money to pay us for all the infrastructure that they've leased to them. And here's the bottom line: no one can own anything of the earth. You're not here. You're a caretaker. Yeah. And until we get that concept.
I think what you were talking about, if anybody's interested in that, I think you should, I think his name is John Perkins, Confessions of a Economic Hitman.
Yes,
if you ever listen to him, yeah. John Perkins, that's the guy. He started in the Peace Corps, and then he's hired by the government, and he goes in, and they basically just take over countries and say, okay, you don't have the tools to do it, we're going to build it for you. We're going to do it, but then you owe us money forever and a day.
Yeah, that's almost like mafia style, isn't it? Can I just say, Nathan was asking on YouTube, the question is what kind of channel? If you're actually asking what kind of a channel this is, then obviously I guess it's a bit of an enlightenment channel, really, isn't it? And keep listening and you'll find out. We don't.
Well, today today it's an enlightenment channel. We don't know what it is going to be next week.
Sure. Getting back to your point though about how forces move in. That's a bit like when, dare I say, the USA go to war. In Afghanistan, obliterate the country with no kind of plan and backup sort of ideas as to how they're going to rebuild.
They don't want to rebuild. They don't want to rebuild. They want the mineral rights.
But then suddenly, there's almost an attitude of the country owes them for what they've accomplished.
They want not only the mineral rights, but they want to destroy sacred sites that have information that archaeologists.
They don't want to destroy them. They want to own them.
That's true.
Own them. Yeah, they don't want to destroy them because they want that knowledge. They absolutely want that knowledge. Like in the school taught about the very recent history, maybe Christopher Columbus or Captain Cook, traveling around, and our maps are based on the Italian map makers because they were the ones that were making all the maps at the time. But there's a prehistory. So I only can give you examples of places I've been. So in America, the education system is going to give you a basic where American history starts. But if you go to the Smithsonian, I don't know, I have never seen it myself, but supposedly there are maps called the maps of the old sea kings that are 10,000 years old. So there's people that were 10,000 years ago were mapping the world, but we don't learn about those people. We learn
Exactly.
we learn about like recent people like going, oh yeah, we just discovered this land, or we discovered here or that. I mean, it's not true. This history goes back, ancient history.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who decides exactly what you're going to learn at school and what is in or out of the syllabus, and what's necessary to teach us? It's a very good point. That is really what you're saying. It's all very selective, and why?
If they need more soldiers, they're going to have the education veer off to that. If they need more nurses, they're going to have the education veer off to that. It's whatever they need. They're gonna structure the education system to be that.
Yeah. Chris from Brixton asks another interesting question relating to a person known to many in the UK. He used to be he was a former television presenter, David Icke.
I love David Icke.
If you're talking conspiracy, as Chris says, David Icke, some of what he says will come true, often ridiculed. It's easy to ridicule stuff, isn't it? And
you know what? It's because a lot of stuff he says is true, but I think he adds stuff that I don't know if it's true or it's too advanced to talk. If he starts talking about aliens and reptiles, I think that should be left to another forum. If he wants to educate the people of the world, he has to leave that out of his information. And I'm not saying that I don't believe, because I've had encounters, I'm going to say, with extraterrestrial in a spiritual way too, but I don't think in certain topics I'm going to bring that up when I'm talking to regular, I don't want to say regular people. I don't want to say, but like the majority of the people, you can't bring that spiritual stuff up sometimes. You actually have to give them like basic facts on the level that they will understand first. Until you can communicate.
Exactly. You have to. Exactly, Jimmy. So you have to say it in a language that they understand,
and leave some stuff out. You can't. Tell them. You can't tell them like, hey, you can close your eyes and travel around through the universe. You can't tell them that. You can't. They won't accept it.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how many more glasses of that have you got to go that you're drinking there before you start chumming around the universe? Just asking.
I'm permanently on the astral plane.
Right. Yeah. Well, what did you say you were drinking today, or did you? I don't think you mentioned it.
I think I opened this up last night. Another Chianti. It's the same Chianti I'm usually drinking. The usual.
Lovely. Right. Yeah. Okay. Don't forget, by the way, people are thinking, what is he doing at this so early in the morning? I mean, Eric, I think now local time for you is about 9:33. Goodness me! I've just seen. You are, but is it 9:33 Eastern Standard right now, Eric? Or is it no? It's 10:33.
10:33, but we got the 33 going on.
Martin's touching his head like he's going to read your clock without looking at his. Like he's like,
let me try to get his Yeah, well, but and for Jimmy, as you say, Jimmy, this is crazy. Jimmy's talking to us from tomorrow to Eric and I, because
exactly, and it's possible.
Saturday morning.
Technology.
It's 12:33 where you are, right, Jimmy?
Exactly.
See, Jimmy's got all the threes there, Eric. He's ahead of you there, just on that occasion.
Oh, that 1, 2, with the 3, and then the 3, 3. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm about 2/3 done with my bottle of wine here.
2/3. Well, that makes 5. That's significant, right there, Eric?
We're talking about spirit, yeah.
Apparently,
Martin fell out for a second there.
I don't know. It just said the connection was
as far as earlier you said. Oh, I can't hear you, Martin.
Can't hear you, Martin.
Can you hear me now, people?
Martin, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so what was Eric saying? What did you say? We're talking. Who was talking about?
Martin's was answering a question about what channel, and he said enlightenment, and you said, well, I don't know. It changes every day, and I haven't gotten to see a lot of your broadcasts other than the one that I joined last week. But as soon as I came on and started experiencing the two of you all, and I think Randy was on when I came on, I think everything that y'all are talking about is enlightening in some way. Whether it may not be talking about spiritual, I mean, Martin might be educating us on or enlightening us on computer technology or relationships and the connectivity, and Jimmy, you've got so many naturopathic things that I've heard you talk about, just with Martin's teeth or some things that you brought up on the last show. So I find y'all enlightening. And that's why I was grateful to make the connections here and be a part of what y'all are doing.
Well, we appreciate you being there, and this is it. There's always something to learn from someone else. I mean, can you imagine if you're on your own on a desert island, how boring it is? And you can only learn so much from, well, as I say, the sand and the palm trees. But actually, communication, that's key for everything between us mortals. That's what's key. Certainly for resolving differences, we know that. And even when we're agreeing on things, we've got to sort of start the communication to even establish that. But it's amazing what happens though at a certain ages. So many people get wrapped up in their significant other and their daily routine and in their family life, and they're going out 9 to 5 to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, and they're so wrapped up in all that. It's one of those things like you use it, lose it when it comes to spirituality. Apparently, and we spoke about this briefly in private yesterday, Eric. If you don't connect with your spirituality at an early age, then you just forget about it, and then things that
lays dormant. It lays dormant.
And things that happen to you, think, oh, that's a coincidence, or etc. etc. Well, actually, if you were aware more about your spirituality then and how connected you are, then you'd realize that it wasn't necessarily a coincidence. It was meant to be, and it happened for a certain reason. But because everybody, 99.9% of the people are controlled and made to rush around, because they want to, they've got to survive. We all have at the end of the day. So it's very easy to lose touch with all that and the other possibilities.
Actually, they deny it. A lot of people deny it. And if something does magical happen or something, well, I don't know if it's like strange but they will deny it. That's what it is. They'll say it's coincidence. Well, there might be some coincidences in the world, but a lot of the world is not coincidence, and we line ourselves up to make those coincidences happen. Mm-hmm. And whether we know it or not, if it's a negative one, you didn't expect it. Well, you might have done something to line yourself up with that.
But this is the thing as well. It's a bit like as well. When people say, "Oh, look at them," that actor, he had luck, she had luck. Out of all the people, they had luck. Well, you know what? I'm a big believer that it may seem that they had luck, but they were, and it may seem they were in the right place at the right time. Yeah. But who put them in the right place at the right time? For example, you might be, you might be French, Australian, but you decided to move to Los Angeles for a 6-month period, and because you've done that, you're there waiting tables, and I say that
up the ante.
Because that is generally what a lot of people do. They wait tables. I'm not trying to be disparaging or anything like that.
If you're doing West Hollywood, you make better tips.
Thanks for that, Jimmy, because of course that's where you were for a considerable time over there in Los Angeles. So you got the inside knowledge. But the point I'm making, obviously, is that because that person's taken themselves, halfway across the world to the film and movie factory that's known to us as Los Angeles, of course, they're waiting tables there, and they've suddenly struck their next role because the person they're serving is a casting director, and they're like, wait a minute, take my card because you're the person we're looking for in this next casting. Yeah. So, and had that person, so you make your luck happen to a certain degree. Obviously, you need someone else to sort of do the handshake and make it happen for you. But to some degree, you've got to orchestrate it yourself and be part of that.
And that's true. But there's also, I think there's another case that I want to mention that where you try to do something and you fail, mm-hmm. and that might is because you're not supposed to be there, and something else is coming that is supposed to fit you.
Yeah, but listen, when you fail at a job interview, you go to your first, second, 10th job interview and you fail.
Exactly.
No, you don't fail. They're all the rehearsals, and you're getting practice doing.
It's just you're looking for doors in the dark, basically, and that's it's just that wasn't your door. Yeah, that wasn't your door.
Someone mentioned on a broadcast recently, could have been you, Eric. I'm just very quickly trying to very very speedily think here. I heard it in the last 24 hours, I think, and it was a quote saying that someone once said, like, doors open where there were never any doors in the first place. effectively, you know, that sort of thing. You make it happen. But yeah, you've got to be proactive, active, and if you focus on, it's a bit like all this
open and willing to take steps.
Storyboards, yeah. And if you put on a board, and also if you say out loud what it is that you want, desire, need,
absolutely,
yeah, and of course you
spells.
make it more real. Yeah, it's
magic
rather than
spells.
just myself. I mean, people will look at you and say, "What, you're talking to yourself? You're nuts." But in the mirror in the morning, if you want something to happen on that day, you know, you're going to take a 30-mile drive, pick up a new television, yeah, from someone that you've just purchased.
Hopefully you purchased and you just not picking it up from his house. You know,
well, it's about it. So you're going out there to purchase a television. You say to yourself, "I'm going to find that one, the one that I like, and I'm going to purchase it because I decide that's exact model and make that is for me." Then it's going to happen more so than if you don't. It's probably a very bad example. I think it is.
It is.
But yeah,
you need some cash too.
Well, you know, you want somebody, okay, so you're going out there to buy some artwork and you're going to visit some galleries. So you say to yourself, today I'm going to find that picture to hang on the wall in that empty space. It is going to happen. And you say to yourself, this is what I'm looking for, a boat on the ocean with a desert island in the background. And if you're focused on that, then you're going to notice that a bit more, I guess, when you're visiting these places. You're not going to take time to go through. It's just going to, well, you go, oh, look, there it is over there. And you can go straight to it more so. I don't know.
Of course.
Yeah.
You got to be open, receptive.
Yeah, you're right.
And absolutely. I think you have to be open to what is happening in the now. And like this whole conversation in the last 5 minutes, the triangulation between spells, movies, and our time, the way we're being controlled. We're working the 9 to 5. We're hustling all the time. So when we get an ounce of time to ourselves, what do? We lean to entertainment. And so what are we usually doing? We're watching movies. And what are the movies saying? They're saying, oh, these things are woo-woo, or these things are things that are entertainment. They're fictional, when they're actually your real nature, your own divinity. And so in that regard, it's keeping you in that prison because, and that's what people are denying because they think they've got evidence. Oh, that's just hairy-fairy stuff. You know, it's all made up. But what is actually the illusion is the way that they control us, the control factor. And so if they're feeding you all these falsehoods all the time, I think it was Hitler that said, if I can convince you to believe the biggest lie, then you'll believe anything.
Well, you're bordering there also, Eric, on, I mean, the thing is, well, actually, let me just take this question.
I think it was Himmler. I'm beginning to think it wasn't Hitler, but maybe it was Himmler, one of his assistants.
You might be right there, Jimmy. You might be correct. Yeah.
Can we just ask this question that's been asked by Brenda, Eric? How do you feel about manifestations, first of all?
That's a good question, Brenda. So I was thinking about that while y'all were talking about this manifestation, because both of your points are correct. And manifestation is such a broad subject. So the way I would simplify it is there's two different things, and then there's that third perspective. And so it might be something that your ego wants, and that's not in line with your destiny or your true nature. And so you're not going to be able to manifest that. And if you do manifest it, you're not going to be happy. And then there's also like what Jimmy's talking about, how, you know, you could perceive it as a negative thing. So I'll use myself for example. I got out of high school. I went into the Peace Corps. I came out of there. I was working at Walmart, going to college. My mother was a college professor. Spirit's been talking to me all my life. I just wasn't listening. And when I didn't listen, bad things would happen. But that was my journey. So when I was in college, I was trying to determine, like most college kids, what am I going to major in? And Spirit said, well, you're going to be a teacher. I was like, oh, great. My mom's a teacher. I'll get into education as my major. And Spirit told me, well, it's not quite that, Eric.
Not that teacher.
What you're going to teach isn't taught in school. And I was like, well, how am I going to learn about this? And at the time they said, well, you've been learning because you've been avoiding. And later on in life, you'll get it. And so now I'm later in life and I'm starting to get it. And so, you know, when I went into the tattoo industry, I quit college and I went into the tattoo industry. I'm helping my mother put a building onto the house, of hers, and the roof truss falls and hits me in the head. And, I survived, but I started having severe pain in my arm. Apparently, I didn't find out till about 5 years ago that my T6 was compromised. And I had so much pain, I had to quit tattooing. And so I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? My world started spiraling, if you will, into a negative trajectory. I started going to work selling beds. Then I couldn't walk on concrete anymore. My legs were going out. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I had to get on disability. But that ultimately led me back to rediscovering who I denied in the first place. And that was my wholeness. Not just this part, not the ego, not the material form, but the spirit, the body, and the emotional structure that helps guide us. So manifestation, you might have a block in your energy field. That we'll get real woo here for a second, but that might even come from a past life. And if you don't ever address that, you're not going to be able to manifest the things that you want. And here's another interesting fact. Friday night or Wednesday night, I did Woo Woo Wednesday. And I started thinking about it, and I started getting a little like, whoo, whoo, whoo. I was like, maybe I don't need to talk about this. Maybe I'm going to get too excited, and that's not the way Spirit's guided me to be in front of people. So I was sitting on the commode. That's where Spirit really gets me. I got nowhere to go. It's like, Eric, you need to go Google. You need to Google woo-woo. I was like, all right. And last week, Spirit did this with me on visions.
Wait, wait. I got to ask, woo-woo meaning actually woo-woo, the word woo-woo?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so, because me and my sister Daz were talking about it a day or two before, and she was like, what is this woo-woo? Why is everyone using it as a negative, derogatory form? Are they scared of their own spirituality? I was like, good point. I've thought about myself. So I decided I'm going to go to the information that we have such available to us today in 2021. And I said, Google, where did woo-woo come from? And apparently a lot of people have looked this up. There's one sailor way back in where who may came from, but to all equivalency, the 1980s is where that term started to be used, and it came from the movies. It came from the sound, the eerie sound that was in horror, science fiction, and spiritual movies. That was like woo 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 woo. And to tell you the truth, when I do a lot of these meditations, I don't hear that sound, but I feel the feeling. I feel the frequencies, the vibration. They're almost like waves coming on me, like woo 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 woo. So I was like, wow, you know what? That's actually a good description. Mm-hmm. But people who don't know about it or haven't experienced it for themselves, they're going to automatically go into a negative trajectory. So I found it interesting that it came from the movie industry.
Well, that makes sense.
But the verb of it is to woo someone. You want to woo your wife. You want to woo you want to convince or persuade someone to be in alignment with love. And that's actually what Spirit's been guiding me to do, is like use yourself as an example, your own hardship journey, your own fears, your own denial of your own self, and look where it's gotten you. And it's like Martin and I were talking about yesterday, and I'm not there yet. I've still got some stuff to do to get me more healed, but the proof is in the pudding. And you're gonna usually listen to somebody that's done it for themselves before you listen to somebody that's just sitting there talking about it.
What do you mean? What do you mean by what do you mean by more healed?
So, for me, like my camera's not the best. You can see like these patchy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's psoriasis right there. And so I've been diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, psoriasis, ankylosing spondylitis, which is the worst arthritis. It twists your joints and your fingers.
Is this all coming from the injury? Is this all coming from your injury?
No. A lot of this, the injury just happened to perpetuate some of these other issues. And one of the injuries that I have too is from a van accident, which I was in 1995, which that's a whole story. But basically what happened was we were coming back from Arkansas. I drove 8 hours. The guys in the van convinced me. We were in a 15-passenger van. We had the first bench seat in there, and then all the luggage from the rest of the team was packed up. And the guys were using it as a bed and laying on it and taking a nap. And they're like, Eric, you've been driving the whole way. Go take a nap on the bed. I was like, no, we got 2 hours to Charleston. I'll be fine. And beyond my intuition and my gut instinct, I mean, I almost had a sick feeling in my gut that was like, no, stay in the driver's seat, Eric, stay in the driver's seat.
Okay.
And I allowed them to convince me to go back here and lay on it. And when I'm laying on it, I'm reaching for the seat belt that's there, that's no seat. And I'm like, why am I reaching for the seat belt with this intent to, well, if something happens, I can just grab this and I'll be okay.
And you remember that thought? That was an actual thought.
Yeah. And so I reluctantly fell asleep. When I fell asleep, I realized that I woke up in my dream and I heard wheels squalling. It was like, woo, woo. And so I opened my eyes and I look out the windshield of the van and I see the dotted line go back and forth and the van's pitching and we're going back and forth and we're doing like 80 miles an hour, and in the dream we went to the left the last time, and as we went to the right, we got to the dotted line and I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was that?
So what was going on? Yeah.
And I was like, what did I just experience? And I was a bit freaked out, and but this is the thing too, we have a destiny sometimes.
No. What happened? What happened? Did something happen?
Yeah. Well, I'll get to it. But what really happened is sometimes we have a destiny. And so I couldn't think properly in that moment. And so I reached for the seatbelt again. And I said, it's right there. It's right there, right next to my head. And I fell back asleep. Then I woke up for reals. And I saw everything that I saw in my dream happen. Except for when we went across that line the last time, I got to see everything that happened after that.
Oh.
And so I was part of it. Yeah. And so I had the opportunity to avoid it.
Yeah.
If I had listened to
your instincts, your gut.
Yeah. But that's part of my learning journey. A lot of times I haven't listened to it. Like you're saying today, Jimmy, a lot of people aren't going to listen.
They're not.
But, if somebody shows up in your dreams and then you meet them in real life, as I have in many other cases, but it's the roles reversed then. It's me seeing you. Now you might see me. It has a different kind of feeling because you're experiencing it. Once you experience something, you can't deny it. You can't go backwards after that.
Well, you could. You have to basically, maybe you do now, but at that moment in time, that was a lesson that you have to start paying attention to what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Not sleep, really. It's not even sleep. It's just that in that plane, you have to pay attention what's happening in that plane.
Yeah, and what I've come to understand from my dialogue is that's our subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And the scientists, so, anybody can woo-woo whatever, but it's been scientifically proven when people study lucid dreaming, they put the little electrodes on their heads, and when these people are in a lucid dream, you're using like 94 to 98% of your brain. When we're in our conscious waking state, we're using like 5% of our brain.
Yeah, because that's what you're not focusing on your body. You're focusing only in that now.
Yeah, and so what Spirit's been guiding me the last 7 years is like you need to marry your subconscious and your conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you will operate in a more whole fashion. Mm-hmm. And so in that accident, I was buried under 3,000 pounds of luggage. I was riding in the van window on my right shoulder and right hip, bouncing off the concrete all the way down, sparks in my face. And I knew sitting on the guardrail that night, I said, this is going to affect me for a good deal in my life. And, I went on to keep surfing and doing things like that. But I've realized in the last 4 years when I'm working with my dream self, I couldn't start putting myself into sleep paralysis because of the injuries I suffered in that van accident in my hip and my shoulder. And so I have to heal certain parts of myself to really start to even access and play in the realms of this subconscious in a controlled way.
You're talking about fixing yourself physically?
Yeah.
And can I ask you, have you ever tried acupuncture?
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually been to surgeons and doctors and spirits told me everything's going to happen that day. Like, your wife is going to be in a parking garage and she's not going to be able to come to you when you have to go to the second doctor, and you're going to have to walk down a concrete hill, and the doctor's going to tell you you're screwed. You're going to wither away. This disease is incurable. I've diagnosed and had surgery on 2,000 people, and everything played out that day exactly the way it said. So I didn't have all the visuals like I did in the dream state, but I'm just getting the information now through like meditation or just waking conscious reality, because
that was given to you to tell you that that's not, you don't have to listen to that guy.
Exactly. And so that's what that's what part of my mission is to, or my purpose is to the people who are ready and willing and open to discover these things for themselves. They can maybe use some of my stories as a launching point. Maybe it'll resonate with them. Oh, I've had this experience, and now I hear this guy talking about this, and wow, and that's really all they need, is to give themselves the permission to go in that direction.
That's exactly the word, isn't it? The permission and the support, so that they aren't just thinking this and it's some sort of crazy.
Well, as Eric said, like, people say like science has been proven, but the problem is that people are not going to believe anything until exactly those words. Well, it has been proven by science. Well, science is way behind reality. Okay, so that's the point.
Exactly.
Is like, when do you have to start believing in what's there, right there? And a lot of people don't want to believe what's there. Like, something happened, they're like, no, I can't believe it. Yeah, but they're not willing to explore that truth.
Yeah, and when I looked up the woo-woo, it was interesting because a lot of words were being used, science, pseudoscience. So I know what these mean, but I'm going to look them up. I'm going to see the black and white in front of me, and they're saying science is this, and science is that, and pseudoscience is this, astrology, all these woo-woo things. And I'm like,
it's not
that
true, though.
right there, and the difference between pseudoscience and science is, science is trying to disprove something, and pseudoscience is trying to prove something. So if you connect experiment for yourself, and
science usually proves pseudoscience, though, a lot of times. As we go along in time, it's proving all of pseudoscience, what they call pseudoscience, because pseudoscience doesn't call itself pseudoscience. Right. It's just universal truths. We don't call it science. Yeah, and science is great. I think it's great. But yeah, the pseudoscience is just, they're putting this moniker on it to make it sound like it's not legitimate. But it's been around a lot longer than science. As you said, astrology. I'm a believer in astrology. I don't believe in all the readings. I don't believe in how it's read, but I do believe that we are affected by the planets and everything that goes on in the universe. And the closest thing I would say is the moon. If you think about the moon, the power of the moon has the power to like lower the seas and raise the seas. Now, don't tell me that doesn't have an effect on you. And that's just one little instance.
Well, no, that's right, Jimmy. We've mentioned this before. Again, in the future, plenty. It's one thing that I've always realized, that if the moon can create the tidal flows that it does around
your body, imagine your body, how it affects your physical
doing
body.
Exactly. And I bet if we wrote down on our calendar and kept a diary of how we're feeling mood wise, and positive, negative, and a bit yucky today or fantabulous another day, I bet you that there may suddenly be a correlation between the moon and its presence in the skies above us. Full moon.
You know what? Pick up a farmer's almanac. Pick up a moon calendar one time in your life. Just pick up this year's moon. Was it astrology or like a farmer's almanac? And there's times where it's like, depending on when you cut your hair, it's going to grow fast, it's going to grow thick, or it's going to grow long. Or there's times that are good for you to go to the bank, and there's times for you times where the bank is going to profit from you during the month, during the moon cycle. This is all in the moon cycle, man.
Right. And so if you look at the moon cycle, it's considered the feminine.
Yeah, well, we've got the comment coming on the screen now. You might want to take note of that, Jimmy.
28 days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Desiree. Yeah. We've been directed to do meditations with the moon cycles. And I see Brenda. Thank you for those comments as well. And Cheryl, it's very interesting that you're saying that, Martin, because, it affects the tidal, which is the water.
Right.
And what do we associate also? Our emotions. And
exactly.
So, men have their own form of period, even though we're not, as physical, and we're not enduring the things that the female is.
Because we have our own water.
Yeah, we have our own fluctuation. And so, all these planetary bodies have significant effects on us.
Push and pull.
Right. And then we could go further with all that by saying, with the introduction of cell phones, mobile phones, and all this electromagnetic force and waveforms around us, that's also going to be affecting us in some way, positive or negative. You can't say that all these energies are not having an effect on us.
Absolutely.
And,
and like you were talking earlier about the spelling, the spells, it's called spelling for a reason. They are spells.
Exactly.
So when we're using pseudoscience, and we're separating pseudoscience from science because of spelling, it's a spell. When they're both the same thing, or they both prove and disprove each other. Yeah.
You spell it out, you write it out, you speak it, and you speak what you wish, And I think even there was a saying. I can't remember what part of the Bible where Jesus says that the heart speaks what. I'm going off course. Forget that what I just said right there. But yeah,
no.
Jimmy, can I get you back on course?
No,
how's the glass going?
My glass is empty. I'm about to fill it, but I have a question for Eric. I have a question for Eric. It's a little bit off course, maybe, but it's not really. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on like Edgar Cayce, if you know who that is?
So you're actually bringing up something that Spirit was talking to me about 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
So we're going to go into something that you said, some people you don't need to talk about certain things in front of them because they're going to exit out, so I guess we'll go here. What I know about Edgar Cayce is I was introduced through my daughter's preschool, a gentleman that was my assistant principal's son growing up, and I had dreams about his family. And when I went to his house the first time, he asked me if I knew who Edgar Cayce was, and I knew a little bit about him. But this guy had bought the computer program, and he's digested Edgar Cayce to the max. Brent took it all the way. And so I was really fascinated by that because it was a lot to do with healing. And here I am, a guy who is needing a lot of healing. But it wasn't until 2017 that I was working with a lady in California. And it was the first time I heard the terminology woo-woo. She was like, I want to work with you, Eric, about some of this, what people call woo-woo. And I'm like, well, what the hell is woo-woo? And she explained to me, and I was like, okay, I get it. And so I got a lot of stuff on her, and then I was getting, like you were talking about, Jimmy, the ancients had a lot of knowledge, and we hear about places like Lemuria and Atlantis. Mm-hmm. And Lemuria was basically, if you don't know, an old civilization that was based upon the principles of the feminine. And it was a lot of receiving information and acting in accordance with the divine planet home that you live on. And then Atlantis kind of took a lot of that knowledge, but they actuated it in a more masculine, more egotistical way. And they ended up destroying, as we know, the society or whatever. And so when I was working on her, I do a lot of past life regression for people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we go back as far as Atlantis. And for her, it was interesting because I already knew my story and several other people that I had worked on that went there that usually were in my soul family. And she was in charge of what I was given through spirit as called the Firestone. But I kept seeing a blue stone. And I was like, well, why is it blue if they're calling it the Firestone? It's kind of almost like back-ass sort of kind of terminology. And so I didn't really question. I just kept getting the information I needed for her clearings. And once I got it all done, again, I felt very compelled to find out about this Firestone. So I went to Google and I'm putting in Firestone. I'm reading and I'm reading and I'm finding nothing and nothing and nothing. And finally, buried 2 pages, 3 pages into Google, I find this thing that comes up to one of Edward Casey's quatrains. And he had worked on somebody. And if you don't know who he is, he's called the Sleeping Prophet. So he would actually go into a meditation and he would be what we would call unconscious, but he would be in his subconscious realm. And he actually had to have a secretary observe him because people took advantage of that. But yeah, he suffered. People got lottery numbers and where to drill for oil and things like that. And so
then he got headaches from that. He got pain from that.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, that speaks to, there's some things that you're not supposed to talk to people about, There's some information that you don't, because see, here's the thing. Those people are operating in greed. Those people who are controlling this world, they can't do what I do. They can't do what Desiree does. They can't do what you do, Jimmy. They can't do what you do, Martin, because they're not operating from their heart. They're operating from the mind and greed. And so they have to operate with sacrifices and seclusion and control and manipulation. But when I got to Google, there was a quatrain concerning Edward Casey and the Firestone. And it was once I really found out about Edward Casey, I was like, I want to feel connected to some of these great, what we would call prophets or whatever, and he was a sleeping prophet. And I found a lot of respect for him. And so I was reading, and in the quatrain, I don't remember it all for detail, but basically it said that Atlantis fell because of the Firestone. And it was a blue stone. And I was like, oh my God. And so when I talked to this woman in California, I told her all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because of you, I've now channeled some stuff from Edward Casey, or that was in relation with him. And that was the only way I got the validation, was through Edward Casey premonitions, or whatever you want to call them.
Actually, I think he has volumes and volumes of his journeys, or was it his whatever it is called in the subconscious or whatever. I guess you can say is like I guess it's kind of related to like what the Indians have, like the Akashic records.
Akashic records, yeah.
Records, I guess it has something to do with. I think it has some kind of a connection to that.
So that brings it to the next point. I had a lot of questions growing up as a child. Like, did I know my parents before I came in? Did I choose my parents? And I've recently, in the last 4 years, gotten some of those answers. And
wait a second.
Desiree has a question for you.
Desiree has a question for you, Eric. Oh my God, is that the stone we moved in the meditation, the heart?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that was a yes. But you know what? Listen, this is fascinating. But Jimmy, you know what I'm going to say now? Your glass was empty.
No, what are you talking about?
It was. Yeah. But I think you're going to have to drink a little bit faster now.
It's time to end the program. Is that what you want to end the program?
Well, listen. We want people to come back for something else. And you know what? I think we've been here for quite a while. You've been here since yesterday, which is now tomorrow for us. If that makes sense. It's crazy now. What is it now? It must be almost. It's 9 minutes past 1 a.m. for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's 1:09. Yeah,
in Japan, in Nagoya, where you are. We've got to speak more about that in the future. Certainly, get a more of a feel about all the cultural stuff that is Japan, and you've happily shared it with us in the past, and definitely you're going to be doing so in the future. I know that. We have Brenda saying, "Keep that glass full, Jimmy." yeah, he's got a bucket under the table, really.
Last year, you know what? Last week our show was so long that I actually got drunk. So I had to drink some like warm. Well, I use mineral snow. I found this salt from Iran. So there's difference. You get the Himalayan salt, which has water like rains washing down it, so it kind of washes out some of the minerals. But the Iranian salt is in the desert, and so it keeps all the minerals. Now I don't know if that's true. That's just what the guy who sold it to me said. So I got some of that salt and I mixed it with some warm water, and I drank it to get rid of my headache. If nobody knows about that, that's what you do, because you have a headache. The reason you have a hangover is because you've drained the water around your brain. So you need to
dehydration.
Kind of Gatorade. Yeah, we need to rehydrate. Gatorade is probably another good thing, but you can do that.
It can be very dangerous, as we know, if you if you have too much of the old alcohol and do indeed dehydrate too much. Yeah, indeed, it can be.
Well, you don't need too much of your brain to survive, right?
Well, survive comfortably, and I think as we should, then we don't want to be doing things that we know can potentially bring harm to us in that way. Moderation, Jimmy, is what we're saying. Moderation.
We got to talk more of that pineal gland, because that's the important part of the brain. We got to keep intact.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I must say, by the way, before we disappear, every time everyone's been mentioning woo-woo, and I want to say for a start, I mean, I was thinking cocktails at this hour, because of course,
that's another definition.
Yeah, it's a vodka cocktail. So right. let's just
it's also the sound that the lightsaber makes. Woo, woo.
Ah, yes.
It's a good, the lightsaber. Yeah. Anyway, 11 minutes past the hour, as I say this live, there's one more thing I want to mention before we disappear, and that is, Eric, this is for another broadcast, but again, for some reason, woo-woo was making me think Amazon and traditions there when it comes to spiritual medicine, and something I hadn't heard about for a good, well, I heard about this probably about, frighteningly, it was over 5 years ago, I think, through other broadcasts that I was listening to, but ayahuasca.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And that is huge. I was following someone online. I don't often follow people, but I came across this person, and then they were up, I think, in the northwest of the USA, if not Canada, on the west coast there. Peru. But they were there following an acting career was the intention. But at that point, they discovered ayahuasca and decided that was more of their destiny, to become more spiritual. And they took a journey to the Amazon, I believe, and being watched over by a shaman, because when you take this medicine, all sorts of things can potentially happen. And so you need someone looking over you, ideally, and caring for you when you go through the experience. But these days as well, what I've learned also very quickly, and it's been a long time since I've reminded myself of the topic and the subject exactly. You can go now on sort of like a busman's holiday, but you can go to the Amazon and it's all arranged for you. It's like a package tour, and you can take the ayahuasca experience and have that spiritual moment.
But Martin, that's the ayahuasca is probably, it's a very intense thing, but we have things that are available if we know how to control it and don't go overboard. A lot of the, like, I hate to say drugs, because they're not drugs. What is it? It's just a tool, whether it be marijuana and stuff like that. And let me mention that actually there's a reason why this is called spirits. Okay, spells. Okay, just to mention at the end.
There you go.
Well, and I think it would be good to say that I'm glad you brought all this up, Martin and Jimmy, because I think in the next episode, the ayahuasca can relate to 33.
Yes.
We'll talk about Jesus Christ. We'll talk about the pineal gland, Jimmy, and we'll talk about DMT. dimethyltryptamine,
which I haven't tried. And being in Japan,
I haven't done it either. But you can do it without a drug. It's inside you.
Do you know what? For what
you produce it yourself. You're saying there's a way to release it yourself.
Yeah.
So for one of the first times, Jimmy, on ShineCast, we have the most advanced, in 7 days in advance, we already have our bullet points as to what's going to happen on the next show. There you go. If Eric's available to join us,
I can guarantee you that we might veer off too.
I'm sure we will.
You don't know what happens in 1 week. There might be other subjects that are like just shooting in.
We have our initial bullet points, which is fantabulous, and hopefully, Eric, you'll be available. If not you out there, you've been very quiet there. Yeah, not even typing. Some of you just watching, which has been fantabulous. We've had a lot of people watching today, and certainly the comments there from everyone around the globe. And as I say, particularly you, share, like, and follow whoever you are. And once again, thanks so much to Eric Hypes for being there on the east coast of the United States in Knoxville, Tennessee, close to that city. To Jimmy over there in Nagoya, Japan. To myself, Martin Shine in London. I think after we should together just say a big thank you. So to everyone out there, thank you.
Thank you.
Much love.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed what you've been listening to, any part of it, do subscribe to ShineCast. And we will be here, if not before. I'm always on and off of social media throughout the week. So you can follow me at Martin Shine, as well as my guests also on their personal accounts. Until next time, as I say,
that was brief. Did I come in too late? I came in
that's
too late.
Colin Porter. Yes.
Now
that's Colin Porter hiding there in the background on his microphone. And unfortunately, Colin...
Is that your morning coffee? Was that your morning coffee?
Yeah, it was. That was my morning coffee. Yeah, got some audio kicking in here. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, I missed it. Missed the boat. Story of my life, guys. But maybe next time, eh? Maybe next time.
Martin, unmute yourself for Christ's sake here. Unmute yourself.
Martin's talking.
Yeah. Now you're...
Nothing.
Am I muted? I don't think I was muted. No. I
unmuted you.
You are muted. Really?
Yes, I unmuted you.
Goodness me. Honestly. Listen, Colin, thank you for making it at the end there. And in fact, I'll tell you what, we've got to do this because Colin usually is on the microphone only. But on this occasion as well, we've missed a visual from Colin. But listen, we will organise this a bit more professionally, dare I say, so that we can indeed catch up with one another all here. It's been a really brilliant broadcast here as we're wrapping up here on ShineCast, certainly with all the spiritual aspects that we've been speaking with Eric today. And Colin, I know you're in touch with all that, as we know from previous little chats we've been having. You don't have the fireplace there, so I'm assuming in Lincolnshire, in England there, it's very warm today, but it's a better day.
Yeah, it's a better day. I've turned the fireplace off. I'm playing around with green screens and trying to promote it.
I got green screen here.
Yeah, exactly.
But
why don't you download yourself? I'm just quickly trying to promote this. There's a program out there that anybody can use for 2 months free, which is the one that I use, but I signed up for it because I had it before. VMix, VMIX, and it's so easy to use. It's intuitive, and anyway. Just thought
VMix is one of the best professional programs for live streamers to be using in this day and age.
VMIX, because I was using OBS before, but I was like, it's too hard to manage. So I'm just like, the green is fine.
VMIX is indeed.
I've stuck it in the box. If you use VMix, it's so intuitive. And if you have any problems, just give me a shout.
There you go.
I just popped it up on Google, so let's download it here. Where is it?
You go and do that, Jimmy. And the next time we talk,
Martin, can we drop a link in there for the VMix?
Go for it.
Because I do think
go for it.
Here, I'll do it right now.
I don't know if you're affiliated and maybe, but if you'd like to do that, certainly. Stick a link in any time. People can always put links in on these broadcasters. You know, the great thing about broadcasting on haps.tv, where we are at the moment, is that even when the broadcast ends, you can still put comments there, and post, and if it's relevant, we'll reply to you as well. Absolutely.
100%.
Listen, I got to get out of here. We've got to get out of here. There you go. It's in the chat now. Jimmy's stuck it up there, so that's good. Stay safe, everyone. Until the next time, from all of us, all four of us now, we will be speaking with you, and hopefully you can, find a microphone, if not a camera, to join in the chat. Otherwise, comment. Until next time, stay safe, and bye-bye for now, everyone.
Take care. All the
best. Love. Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
End the broadcast. Did you end it? End the broadcast.
No. Hold on a second. I haven't ended the broadcast. Jimmy, hold on.
We can talk.
Thanks, everybody. Well, yes, Jimmy.